Colossal question.
Why do songs get stuck in our head? Scientists have concocted a slightly more, scientific name for earworms. They call it involuntary musical imagery, and according to studies, more than 90% of people experience it at least once a week. There's lots of common traits of songs that are particularly good at sticking. Usually, it's a song you've heard a ton of times. This one is pretty obvious since the more times you hear something, the more it's going to stick in your head. Earworms also tend to have a simple, understandable melody that is memorable after just one or two listens. They're also usually faster, poppy, and upbeat. Okay, so that's what makes for a song that will stick, but one question still remains. Why do the songs get stuck in the first place? Well, some experts believe earworms might have more to do with memory than anything else. You see, studies have shown that associating words with music is a great way to store information and recall it later. For example, it's hard to remember all the facts for your history quiz, yet fairly simple to remember lyrics to a song you've only heard on the radio. Other experts believe that earworms developed alongside the fairly modern ability to record and re-listen to a piece of music. Now that we listen to songs over and over and over and over and over and over again, earworms are just an unintentional byproduct. While both of these theories make some sense, neither has been proven, and the actual cause of earworms remains a mystery. Luckily for us, there is one thing we can answer for sure: how to get rid of a song that's stuck in your head. Try concentrating on a game or task. It will distract you from the never-ending melody and help your brain move on from the catchy tune. Chewing gum is another choice. When a song is in our head, we keep the rhythm of the song internally. But if you distract your mouth with something else, like chewing gum, it will get you off beat from the song stuck in your head and help you forget it. And your last option is simple. If you can't beat them, join them. Just listen to the whole song and see if that satisfies that part of your brain that really wanted to hear it. Why do we get brain freeze? It doesn't matter if you call it a cold headache, an ice cream headache, or a brain freeze, it's all the same sinister sensation. As you've probably learned the hard way, brain freeze happens when you eat or drink something super cold too fast. You see, every time you put food in your mouth, that food comes in contact with the roof of your mouth called the palate. When we gobble down something frigid too fast, the nerves in our palate send a message to the brain, basically saying, "Help! Suddenly it's freezing cold!" This causes blood vessels in the brain to suddenly swell and shrink, which causes the throbbing sensation we call brain freeze. Okay, so that's what causes brain freeze, but there's still one big unanswered question. How do you avoid it, and can you stop it once it starts? Well, the best way to avoid an ice cream headache is obvious. Eat your ice cream slower. But since it's not always an option, there's always a cure for brain freeze once it starts. Press your tongue against the roof of your mouth and hold it there until the pain subsides. Okay, now go eat as much ice cream as is humanly possible. What causes us to blush when we're embarrassed? We've all been there. Something embarrassing happens, or you get caught in the act, and you blush, turning red like a tomato. But what causes us to blush when we're embarrassed? Let's find out on today's episode of
Colossal question.
Your blushing reflex is controlled by something called your sympathetic nervous system, which is basically the system that takes over when you panic and happens without you ever choosing to blush. When you get embarrassed, adrenaline is released into your body, which speeds up your heart rate and increases blood and oxygen flow because your veins widen, allowing more blood to flow through your veins than normal. This causes your cheeks to turn a bright rosy red because of all the extra blood pumping through your face. But this special reaction only happens to the veins in your face, which is why you don't blush all over. Okay, so that's how we blush, but why do we do it? Well, that question seems to be hard for scientists to answer absolutely, but they do have a theory. Many researchers believe it's our body's way of admitting we feel guilty or embarrassed about something and automatically apologizing for it. According to the theory, someone is much more likely to forgive you and even feel bad for you if you blush after getting caught or doing something embarrassing. Think about it. You're trying to pour yourself a drink and it accidentally spills right as your parents walk in the room and your face turns bright red from blushing. Before you can say a word, your flushed face is your body's way of letting your parents know it was an accident. What causes sunburns in the first place? The pain of a sunburn is unmistakable. Your skin becomes hot to the touch, feels like it's burning, turns red, and can even blister. It makes sleeping a nightmare. And if it's bad enough, it can even make it hard to move. But what's actually happening when you get a sunburn, and what causes all that pain? Well, whenever your skin is in the sun for too long, it reacts by protecting itself from the harmful ultraviolet rays. As your skin begins to burn, your body jumps into action, probably before you even feel any pain. It starts by flooding the affected area with blood to help start the healing. This is part of what causes that lobster red look of someone with a mean sunburn. If the sunburn is severe, there might be swelling too, or even blisters if it's really bad. While painful, all of these processes are actually just your body trying to heal your skin. A few days later, a layer of dead skin cells will start peeling off the burned area. This is your body's way of killing off any cells that might have been mutated by the sun's harmful rays. All that peeling skin is just another defense mechanism to keep you safe. But you can't always catch every single mutated cell, and that's why it's super important to be careful in the sun and make sure you take the right precautions. Use plenty of sunscreen if you're planning to be in the sun, and make sure to reapply throughout the day. Using basic sun blockers like t-shirts and hats help too. So this summer, go outside and play all day. Just make sure you're prepared to beat back the sunshine. Why do we have tailbones but no tail? Tons of animals have tails all across the animal kingdom, but not us. Why don't humans need tails when so many other animals have them? Well, most experts think it comes down to one simple reason. We don't need one. You see, ever since humans started walking upright, we haven't had much need for a tail. In fact, other great apes like chimps, orangutans, and gorillas don't have tails either. These animals tend to swing themselves around from tree to tree with their feet dangling below them or balance on branches with their arms. Being upright, a tail would just get in an ape's way. And the same is true for humans. Just like our great ape relatives who don't need tails to swing around the jungle, humans didn't need them either once we left the trees and started walking around on 2 feet. Animals tend to only have tails when it's needed to help them survive. For instance, our monkey friends use their tails mostly to help them balance up there in those tall trees. Other animals use their tails to help them communicate. Dogs, for example, wag their tail to talk, and some studies even show that different tail wags can mean different things. And others even use their tails like weapons. Porcupines swing their tails to stick predators with their quills. Kangaroos have no problem smacking someone with their big tail, and some lizards, like Komodo dragons, swing their flexible tails around to attack. And that's just the start. Animals all across the planet use their tails for all sorts of different tasks that help them survive. So, why don't humans have tails? Because animals only tend to have them when they actually need them for something. And with all that walking around upright that we do, it just wouldn't be practical. It would be kind of fun though, or maybe just weird. Why do we get hangry? Scientists actually have a pretty good sense of why we get so moody when we have the munchies. It has to do with the amount of something called glucose in your blood. Glucose is another word for blood sugar and helps keep your body running in tip-top shape. If you have the right levels of glucose in your blood, you'll feel fine. But if there's too much or too little, your body will start to have some trouble functioning. You see, we use glucose along with fats, amino acids, and other fuel sources to give us energy. When those things run out, our body tends to freak out a little bit. Our brains rely on glucose to work right. So when your blood sugar drops, you might start to stutter, slur words, forget things, get dizzy, find it hard to concentrate, and make simple mistakes. Some of our bodies have a harder time regulating our blood sugar levels than others. They tend to experience more severe hunger and more often. When your body realizes that it needs more glucose, your liver starts producing its own supply to help keep your blood sugar levels up. Doing that triggers your body to release adrenaline into your system, which can also cause you to get extra angry extra quick. That combo can lead to hissy fits we call anger. So that's why we get so heated when we're hungry, but what should we do about it? The answer seems obvious, and honestly, it is. Eat. But there is a little more to it than that. If your blood sugar drops, it might be tempting to grab a candy bar or some other delicious sweet and sugary food, but that's not really the greatest source. It'll cause a quick spike in blood sugar levels, but they'll drop again as soon as the sugar rush ends. Instead, experts suggest going for something with more nutrients, like an apple, avocado, yogurt, nuts, eggs, and all sorts of other healthy, tasty treats. These foods have way more quality nutrients in them and have a much more manageable amount of sugar. So, next time your stomach's rumbling and you have an urge to freak out, just take a breath and go find something to eat. And yes, even a candy bar is better than nothing. What causes people to talk in their sleep, and what kinds of things do they say? Studies show that around 2/3 of the population have talked in their sleep at some point in their life. Sleep talking, known by the fancy scientific name of somniloquy, usually just amounts to a few random words or sounds spit out, rather than a full-on sentence. But occasionally, someone will carry on a whole conversation while asleep. Sometimes we sleep talk in reaction to something that happens to us in a dream. This is called a motor breakthrough, when your mouth and vocal cords speak the words out loud that you're saying in your dream. Another common moment that we sleep talk in is while transitioning between the different stages of sleep. Whenever you go from one stage to the next, you briefly become half awake. So that's when you talk in your sleep, but how does it actually happen? Well, the truth is, no one really knows why some of us talk in our sleep. That's because, unlike other similar issues like sleepwalking, talking in your sleep poses no real danger. It's not classified as a disorder, and doctors consider it to be just a normal occurrence. So, because it's not officially considered a disorder, there's not nearly as much need or interest in trying to figure it out. But there is one thing that scientists try to make clear. What someone says while they're sleeping is utter nonsense. Completely random. The bits of research that has been done on sleep talkers have shown that there's no connection between waking memories and the random things someone says in that state. So, rest assured, your sibling isn't ever going to hear you spill your deepest, darkest secrets while you're sleep talking. Just some funny, silly sounds. What are freckles, and why do some of us have them? Freckles are those dark little spots that can appear almost anywhere on your skin. We often see them on people's faces, but necks, shoulders, and arms are all common spots for freckles too. Basically, any bit of skin that spends a bunch of time in the sun can develop freckles. Luckily for all of us, they're completely safe and aren't any kind of strange skin condition. Freckles are just your average, normal skin cells that contain an extra bit of melanin, a special dark brown pigment that helps protect your skin like sunscreen. That's why you tend to only have freckles on the parts of your skin that spend the most time in the sunshine. All those ultraviolet rays beat down on your skin, causing it to produce more melanin to protect your skin from getting damaged. So, those little brown spots on your skin we call freckles are really just clumps of cells that produce extra melanin to protect you from the sun. Since melanin is a light brownish tan colored pigment, so are our freckles. The more sun you get, the more melanin you'll make, and the darker your freckles will look. Okay, so that's why some of us get freckles on our faces, but why not all of us? Why do some of us get tons of freckles while other people don't? For starters, freckles are genetic, which means they get passed down through your family genes. So if your parents have plenty of freckles, chances are you will too. But there's a bit more to it than that. Everyone has melanin in all of their skin cells, but some people have more than others. The more melanin in your skin, the darker it looks. That means people with light-colored skin have less melanin. So when the sun shines down, the cells have to kick it into high gear. Those cells make tons of extra melanin to compensate and keep the skin protected from the UV rays. And all that extra melanin takes the form of a freckle. For people with darker skin tones, their cells tend to have enough melanin to avoid making so much that it causes freckles. Instead, all that extra sun just takes the form of a tan. Some people's freckles fade away over the winter and come out in full force during the summer months, and other people just have them all year round. So whether you have a ton of freckles or no freckles at all, don't fret. Your body's just doing what it needs to do to keep your skin healthy. Now put on some sunscreen and go have fun. Is it impossible to sneeze with your eyes open? You've probably noticed that whenever you sneeze, your eyes automatically close right before you sneeze. Most of us learned this eye-popping rumor, and honestly, it sounds pretty horrifying. Luckily, it's a myth. Your eyes will definitely not pop out if you sneeze with them open. Your eyes close just before a sneeze as an involuntary reflex, which means the brain sends a signal to the eye muscles telling them to close without you ever having to actually think about it. Okay, so that's good news. No one's eyes are going to be popping out from a sneeze. But why do our eyes automatically close right before we sneeze? Well, experts can't say for sure, but many believe that it could be a reflex that keeps all the icky stuff we sneeze out from getting in our eyes. You see, sneezing is just a way for your body to get rid of something that might be inflaming the inside of your nostrils, like dust, pollen, pepper, or other irritants in the air that don't belong up our noses. Sneezing might seem like a basic reflex, but a lot goes into a single sniffle. It's not just your nose and eye muscles that spring into action. Muscles in your abs, chest, and throat all brace to help eject those unwanted particles from your nose with surprising strength and speed. Experts estimate that the average sneeze can travel up to 100 miles per hour. So, next time you feel a sneeze building up inside, keep your eyes open if you dare. Your eyes are definitely gonna stay safely inside your head. You might just get some of your own snot mist in your eyes. Ugh, gross. Why can you see your breath when it's cold outside, but not when it's hot? Every time you take a breath, you inhale the air around you, then exhale it back out, mainly in the form of a gas called carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide and other gases you breathe out also contain plenty of moisture from your mouth and lungs in the form of water vapor. Water vapor is water in its gas form, and in order for water to stay a gas, it needs lots of energy. Warm air can hold way more water vapor than cold air can. So when it's warmer outside, the gas can more easily move from your warm lungs to your mouth to the air without ever changing from a gas into a liquid. But when it's nice and cold outside, all that water vapor you breathe out loses its energy really fast since the cold air can't support nearly as much water vapor. Instead, the gas packs together and begins to form tiny water or ice droplets that we see as a foggy cloud floating in front of people's faces. The colder it gets, the easier it becomes to see your breath, usually around 40 degrees Fahrenheit or colder. But it's not just temperature that makes your breath visible. The amount of humidity in the air is just as important. For instance, you may be able to see your breath on a really humid day, even if it's still warm out. Since humid air already has plenty of water in it, the water vapor you breathe out is much more likely to form into droplets. And on the other hand, you may not be able to see your breath even when it's frigid out if the air is extra dry. So, why can we see our breath? Because, well, it turns out sometimes it's cold enough outside that even our breath ends up huddling together for warmth. Or something like that. What do our eyebrows do, and why do we have them? It might be easy to live your whole entire life without giving your eyebrows a second thought, but they're actually super important. For starters, they're a big part of our appearance. You might not always notice them, but eyebrows are one of the most distinct features on your whole face. It's also one of the most expressive and helps you communicate all kinds of information without speaking. Different eyebrow positions communicate different emotions like happiness, surprise, or anger. But more than anything else, eyebrows help to protect your eyes. The shape of your brow itself, along with the hairy eyebrows, help force water away from your eyeballs so you can still see. There are a few different ways that having eyebrows helped us survive in prehistoric times. Being able to see clearly in the rain could mean life or death for a caveman fleeing from a predator or looking for shelter. But it's not just rain. Getting salty sweat in your eyes stings, and having your vision blurred from sweat while you try to outrun a saber-toothed tiger is bad news. So that's the main reason we have eyebrows, to keep our vision clear. But there is another thing our eyebrows do for us. They help us tell each other apart. Our eyebrows tend to stand out against our forehead, don't change shape much in our life, and are usually the first feature we can make out on someone's face from a distance, even more than their hair, eyes, or other facial features. So the next time you're trying to go undetected, don't dye your hair or put on a costume, just hide your eyebrows.